Well, people in Mons, Belgium will get to see a piece of Canadian history, an armored vehicle that took part in the first victory parade following the end of the Great War. Murray Brewster has more on a road trip 100 years in the making.
It's not your average used car. The last time this baby was started was 1967. A couple of extra cranks is needed. An autocar, armored car, used by the Canadian Machine Gun Corps in the First World War.
It's not every day you get to take a spin in a 105-year-old car. This vehicle belongs to the Canadian War Museum, and it fought right up until the very last of the First World War.
It was driven 100 years ago in the victory parade through Mons, Belgium, following the armistice. And it will be there Sunday for the anniversary.
We never got the fuel filter apart.
Getting it running was a challenge. It needed a new carburetor and parts, and it's not like service manuals were lying around.
A private auto museum in the States, their curator generously sent me a photostat of a beautiful 1916 manual. This is a 1913 model, but they didn't really change until 1920. So
the vehicles went over with the first contingent of Canadians in 1914.
By 1970, 1918, in the last 100 days of the war, when they rode to the trenches, they saw a lot of service.
And this one still bears the scars. It's still here today because of the man who rode in it. Second Lieutenant, later Major General Frank Worthington, a legend in the Canadian Army.
Well, I remember him as hugely fun, a little bit wild, a kind of very exciting grandfather.
He was known to his men and publicly as Fighting Frank, also as Worthy. To his grandchildren, he was Pico, a nickname picked up as an orphan in Mexico. Before the First World War, Worthington fought as a mercenary in Nicaragua and Mexico.
Those were the stories that he told us about, and it actually, strangely enough, made his military career seem rather dull by comparison.
Worthington joined the Canadian Army at the outset of the war and won the Military Medal at Vimy Ridge, and organized the Canadian Tank Corps in the Second World War. His life was dutifully and lovingly chronicled by his wife, who complained to her grandchildren they needed to know more of the military side of him, though Fawcett's mother disagreed.
You don't have to read that kind of stuff. You know, you knew him as a man and you knew him as a person, and those are the things to remember.
As it rolls through the streets of Mons this weekend, this armored autocar is a reminder that behind every artifact there is an incredible personal story. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.